2002, Ethiopia. A group of scientists is working at the crater of one of the most dangerous volcanoes on the planet. They had collected a bag of household trash weighing 65 pounds, and they decided to simply throw it into the lava. What happened next shocked even the most experienced volcanologists. But what if we really started disposing of all our trash in volcanoes? Is that a good idea or the beginning of a real disaster? Every year, humanity produces 2 billion tons of trash. That's like 400 million elephants. Americans alone throw away 254 million tons of waste per year. Landfills around the world are overflowing, ocean pollution is off the charts, and the problem keeps growing every year. Because of this, people began to come up with crazier and crazier ideas. Shoot the trash far into space? Too expensive. Tens of thousands of dollars per pound. Dump it into ocean trenches? That was already tried before the 1970s. As a result, huge areas of the seafloor were contaminated with radiation and will remain dead zones for hundreds of years where nothing can survive. Then another idea came up. What if we used volcanoes? After all, they're like natural incinerators, capable of destroying anything without a trace. To understand what happens when trash meets lava, let's go back to 2002. The Erta Ale volcano in Ethiopia is one of the few on the planet with a permanent lava lake. This place is so inhospitable that the locals call it the gates of hell. The air temperature here reaches 125 degrees Fahrenheit, and in the crater churns a lake of molten lava at a temperature of over 1,800 degrees Fahrenheit. An international team of volcanologists from France, Italy, and the USA came here to conduct research. The team included experienced scientists, including the French volcanologist Pierre Veillot and specialists from the French National Research Center. Their goal was to set up measuring instruments, take lava samples, and study the behavior of one of the most active lava lakes on the planet. After several days of hard work in extreme conditions, the expedition had collected a bag of household trash: plastic bottles, metal cans, food scraps, rags, ordinary camp waste. In the African desert, where the nearest town is hundreds of miles away and the only transport is camels, removing the trash was extremely difficult. Then one of the scientists suggested an obvious solution. What if we just throw it into the lava? It seemed logical. After all, lava destroys everything in its path. The bag, weighing about 65 pounds, was slowly lowered to the edge of the lava lake and dropped into the glowing mass. For the first few seconds, nothing happened. The bag slowly sank into the lava, like a stone into water. But as soon as it broke through the thin crust on the surface of the lava lake, something unexpected happened. A powerful explosion shook the entire crater. Red-hot sprays of lava shot several feet into the air, and the shock wave made the scientists run back in panic to a safe distance. The roar was so loud it was heard over half a mile away from the crater. What happened? When the cold trash hit the molten lava, it instantly began to evaporate. Water from the organic waste turned into steam. Plastic started breaking down, releasing toxic gases, hydrogen chloride, carbon monoxide, and other poisonous compounds. All this created a huge amount of steam and gas under the dense crust of the lava. The pressure rose sharply, and when it reached a critical point, the gas burst out, like from an overheated boiler. The molten lava shot up like a fountain to the height of about 50 feet, and the shock wave knocked the scientists off their feet. They barely managed to roll away from the edge of the crater, escaping the deadly spray of molten rock. The experiment was immediately stopped, but the question remained: what if we tried to do the same thing, but on a much larger scale? What would happen if we turned volcanoes into global trash incinerators? At first glance, volcanoes really do seem like perfect trash incinerators. Lava temperatures reach over 2,200 degrees Fahrenheit, much higher than in any industrial furnace. Volcanoes work around the clock, need no fuel, and seem capable of swallowing any kind of waste. But in reality, things are much more complicated. The first problem: there are just too few of them. On the whole planet, there are only about 1,500 potentially active volcanoes, and most of them are in completely inaccessible places. In the middle of oceans, in mountains, in deserts, far from human settlements. That makes sense. Volcanoes are a deadly threat to all living things. The second problem, not all volcanoes are suitable. For trash disposal, you need so-called shield volcanoes with permanent lava lakes. These are slowly erupting volcanoes that don't explode, but gradually release lava. There are only a few of those on the planet. Most volcanoes are stratovolcanoes, known for their explosive eruptions. Getting close to them with trucks full of trash would be suicide. The third problem, logistics. Imagine, you would need to deliver millions of tons of trash to the craters of volcanoes located in some of the most inaccessible places on Earth. Thousands of trucks, camel caravans, helicopters, all of that would require huge amounts of fuel. The carbon footprint from such transportation would be many times greater than just burning the trash on site. The fourth problem, safety. Working at the edge of an active volcano is a constant game of death. Poisonous gases rising from the crater can kill in minutes. Lava splashes can burn through any protective clothing, and sudden changes in volcanic activity could catch workers by surprise. The fifth problem, lava itself is not as all-powerful as it seems. Yes, it melts most materials, but not all. Metals with high melting points would remain in the lava as impurities. Many chemical compounds don't completely break down, but turn into toxic gases that rise into the atmosphere. Burning plastic releases dioxins, some of the most toxic substances on the planet. And most importantly, if a bag weighing 65 pounds caused such a powerful explosion, imagine what would happen with tons of trash. In Hawaii, Iceland, and Kamchatka, tourists constantly throw bottles and stones into lava flows just to take impressive photos for social media. On Mount Etna, tourists stand just inches away from molten lava, ignoring the authorities' requirement to stay at least half a mile away. And in Kamchatka, tourists even grill sausages over lava. Every such foreign object instantly evaporates and causes small explosions, scattering red-hot splashes dozens of feet. And that's just a bottle or a stone, not a bag full of mixed trash. But let's imagine for a second a fantastic scenario where we really decided to use volcanoes. Just as people once seriously considered space trash catapults or underwater waste burials. What would it look like? Huge caravans of trucks stretching through deserts and mountains to the few suitable volcanoes. Special roads built to the craters at the cost of billions of dollars. Protective suits for workers, air purification systems, automatic trash dumpers, and then constant explosions, air poison for hundreds of miles around, acid rain from emissions. Any change in volcanic activity would turn into a planet-wide disaster. Volcanic winters from ash emissions, groundwater contamination, destruction of ecosystems. No, we definitely should not turn volcanoes into dumps, just as we should never have turned the ocean into a radioactive garbage pit, which humanity actively did in the 20th century. Fortunately, modern civilization has much more sensible and effective solutions to the waste problem. Today, developed countries actively use next-generation waste incineration plants. These are not just furnaces, but high-tech facilities with multi-stage filtration systems. They not only destroy waste at a temperature of 1600 degrees Fahrenheit, but also generate heat and electricity in the process. In Sweden, such plants supply entire cities with energy, and their emissions are so clean that they meet the strictest environmental standards. At the same time, advanced sorting and recycling of waste is developing. Modern sorting facilities use robotic arms and artificial intelligence systems that can separate plastic from metal, paper from glass with up to 95% accuracy. In Germany, 66% of all household waste is recycled this way. In South Korea, 59%. A revolution in the fight against waste is promised by biotechnology. Scientists have already created bacteria capable of eating plastic, turning it into harmless compounds. A Japanese company isolated a bacterium that completely breaks down PET plastic in a few weeks. At the same time, biodegradable materials are being developed. Packaging made from seaweed, starch, mushroom mycelium, which disappears naturally within months. An interesting economic approach is used in Asia, the pay-for-waste system. Citizens pay for garbage collection in proportion to its volume and type. The more unsorted waste, the higher the fee. This strongly encourages people to sort their waste and throw away less. As a result, in South Korea, the amount of household waste has dropped by 30% in 10 years. A promising technology is plasma gasification, a process where waste breaks down in plasma at a temperature of over 5,500 degrees Fahrenheit. This produces synthesis gas, which can be used as fuel and leaves almost no toxic emissions. This technology is still expensive, but it is being actively developed in Japan and Europe. All of these methods already work in reality and have proven their effectiveness. They are safe, economically justified, and do not require turning volcanoes into industrial sites. So volcanoes are not natural incinerators. They are complex, unpredictable, and extremely dangerous geological systems that are better left alone. The Ethiopian experiment of 2002 clearly showed even 65 pounds of ordinary trash can cause a powerful explosion in a lava lake. And millions of tons of waste would turn volcanoes into real-time bombs, threatening the entire planet. Science does not tolerate simple solutions to complex problems, and humanity has already found safer, more effective, and cleaner ways to deal with waste. The best way to dispose of trash is through recycling, energy use, and reducing consumption, not trying to make nature do the dirty work for us. Let volcanoes remain what they are, one of the most majestic and fearsome phenomena of nature, and we have learned to dispose of trash in more civilized ways.